Hey everyone, Dietitian Teresa here and certified personal trainer. I'm coming at you with another video, kind of like a sit down. We're talking, we're learning all about the female menstrual cycle and how that can affect, your performance and how you can work with the phases of your cycle to optimize your fitness and optimize how your body utilizes certain nutrients and really make yourself become a powerhouse when it comes to really treating your body really well, getting strong, staying nourished, and really just living a thriving life. And I am going through this book by Dr. Stacy Sims. What it says on the title here is match your food and fitness to your unique female physiology for optimum performance, great health, and a strong body for life. Let that soak in. Like, that just is so empowering. And she's the one that really is going at it like in the scientific realm, in scientific studies, to advocate for more research on female athletic performance. This is something that is so empowering to me, and I want to share it with you guys, whoever watches this, to hopefully you get maybe some tidbits, maybe some things that you didn't know about your own cycles. And I'm going through certain chapters for a reason. One, because it keeps me on track with my studies and making sure I'm understanding the information correctly. But also, I'm like, this information we cannot gatekeep. Like, we cannot gatekeep this, especially for all the ladies out there. If you struggle with PMS or, okay, the cycle syncing, all right, cycle syncing out there on social media, I think has been so taken to the extreme. Like, we are not these delicate little flowers that walk the earth, ladies. Like, we just aren't. Like, you might think differently, but I think that we are very, our bodies are so strong. Men too, of course. I'm talking to the women out there. Our bodies are so strong and so much more capable of physical strength, physical fitness than we realize. Girl, you can utilize it in any phase of the cycle you want, but what Dr. Stacy Sims gets at in this book is that we want to work with our cycles, not necessarily push the resistance against it, because there has been a lot of glorification around not having a cycle and okay, if you're training and you lose your cycle, okay, don't have to worry about that. Please do not praise losing your cycle, ladies. I've been through it in ways. Now, take this information with a grain of salt, because this book is so informative and such a great resource, Dr. Stacy Sims. But of course, just like anything, not just one source will be the end all be all for you. Again, don't take this as any medical advice or replacing that at all. This is just education and information that I thought I'd share, because I don't know if you can feel the energy on the other side of the camera here, but I am so excited because this is some great stuff. First I want to touch on, again, is your period shouldn't be seen as a sign of weakness, nor should a missing period be celebrated. So again, as somebody who has gone through that time of not having a period, there are so much more things that come along with it rather than just not getting a cycle. It's like you're cold to the bone all the time. You have poor sleep. You just feel so fatigued. You can't increase your weights lifted in the gym. You just feel blah. Your mood takes a hit. Your appetite takes a hit. It's not this glorified thing that should be on a pedestal, especially for women in sport and women that are physically fit, that you may have the right intentions, but sometimes they can turn the other way. All that to say, a period should be worked with. Let's work with that. Let's work with your cycle. And if you nourish your body and train your body with that, with what your body actually wants, those PMS symptoms, the way you're feeling, the way your body composition is, can improve over time. It's totally possible. So let's dive into that. So Dr. Stacy Sims refers to the quote here, "Women are not small men, so stop training like one." I could just end it right here. That is so cool. But it's just because it's no right or wrong kind of thing, point fingers, but there just have been a lack of scientific studies with female in athletic performance due to like our cyclical nature. Like, I mean, it is complicated. We run on like a 28 to a 35 day cycle, depending on who you are and what your cycle's like. Men operate on a 24-hour cycle. So a lot of studies in like the physical fitness realm and like with fasting and different like low carb, super low carb diets, like those have been done on men. And again, scientific studies be taken with a grain of salt. You really got to look at a lot of data overall to make like an actual conclusion for yourself and like a belief for yourself. But I love what she talks about here. So let's dive into the phases. So let's go through the phases of the menstrual cycle and make sure that you understand that. So in general, there's about a 28-day period in general. And there's 3 phases. So the first phase is going to be your follicular phase. And the follicular phase begins on the first day that your period starts. So that sets the follicular phase off. Then we go into the ovulatory phase, which honestly only lasts like 24 to 40 hours. So it's not very long. Ovulation, thinking that's prime time to make a baby, basically. And that happens around day 12, 14, 15. It could vary depending on what your length of your cycle is. And then we have the luteal phase, which is lasts about 13 to 15 days after that ovulation period happens. And then you just start the cycle again. So the cycle just keeps continuing. Okay, so lock in here for a moment because we're going to be talking about the hormones and how those are affected. Okay, so within the first 5 to 6 days, which is really typically how long a period lasts, this is where estrogen increases. So estrogen is rising. And then there is a rise and fall in FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, during the first days of the cycle. And this stimulates a mature egg to release. And then approximately around day 12, you hit this estrogen surge plus an LH, so luteinizing hormone, causing the ovulation to happen. So this means where that egg, that mature egg is released is again, so once that egg is released, the estrogen dips, we go into the luteal phase, which this is more like your hormones are in high gear. So progesterone is increasing and it is trying to prepare your uterus for implantation. During this time, so as you go through your luteal phase, about 3 to 5 days before your period, estrogen and progesterone reach their peak levels. And then this is where you start to see maybe those PMS symptoms. So like the bloating, the gas, fatigue, lethargy, the list could go on depending on what PMS symptoms you have. So 3 to 5 days before your period. Makes sense, right? Sugar cravings, like carb cravings, boom, right there. So then if the egg is not fertilized, what happens? Basically we get our period. But what happens is the progesterone falls, the lining sheds, and then we're back to square one and we're starting the cycle over. So hopefully you follow along with that. And that's a little bit about the cycle. Now we're going to touch on the high hormone phase versus the low hormone phase. So your high hormone phase is what happens really leading up to your period. So you hit this kind of time where you're hitting like the high hormone phase. This causes a shift in your immune response and decreases inflammation and increases your immune cell activity, which actually can help make you more resilient to stress and higher and harder training loads. Then we shift into the low hormone phase, which happens when you have your period, day 1 of your period. In that time in the first the 5 to 6 days of your period, you actually could feel stronger and have less pain and recover faster. With all of that to say, I like how Dr. Stacey Sims goes into, all right, so how can we work with this when these hormones are rising and we are starting to experience those PMS symptoms? But I'll go through them kind of like 1, 2, 3. So the first one is that we tend to say, oh, it's really hard to make muscle like during certain times. Now, there's a lot of credit to testosterone with muscle building. Yeah, sure, that is true in men. But we also, as women, have an advantage point too, that we have an increase in estrogen and progesterone during this high hormone phase, which actually can help with muscle cell turnover and protein synthesis. So you're thinking, oh, I can build. So estrogen is an anabolic hormone, which means that it builds, it grows, and then progesterone is a catabolic, so it breaks down. So we have a surge of both. So it's kind of like fighting for, like you want to build, but also you also have this breakdown hormone that is coming in too. So this is why it's so important to consume protein sources that are high in leucine within about 30 minutes of your workout or your exercise. And this is what Dr. Stacy Sims recommends, which makes total sense, because if you are in a time where the progesterone is higher in that high hormone phase and is trying to break down, you want to repair and recover as best as you can. So with her recommendations, I totally agree. So proteins that are high in leucine. Really, you're thinking about a lot of animal-based protein sources, chicken, beef, fish, dairy, those types of things that are animal-based proteins that have higher leucine in it. So that's kind of like what she recommends in there, which I totally agree. Now we move into the metabolism and cravings. So you're thinking, okay, like the PMS symptoms really start kicking in maybe a week and a half before that period actually starts. And that's where you're craving the sweets and the carbs. But why? Like, why does that happen? This is so fun to understand too. Now, with the estrogen and progesterone hormone shifts, this causes more of a reliance on carbohydrates, or hence why you crave more of those things. So your body does not store carbohydrates as effectively in the luteal phase as in the follicular phase. So if you think in that luteal phase, especially maybe about a week before your period hits, you're hitting those chocolate cravings and sweet cravings and high carb cravings for a reason, because of the estrogen and progesterone hormone shift. This is where it's important to listen to your body. Don't just say, oh, cool information, great, but can't eat more carbs because certain reasons. No, let's work with it. Your body is craving it for a reason. And if you're an active female and you're working out, let's increase your carbs a little bit during that luteal phase, especially if you are in intense exercise on a daily basis, on a regular basis. It would be so helpful for you to do that. What Dr. Stacy Sims recommends in this book is about 10 to 15 grams of protein plus 30 grams of carbs. If you are doing, now this is for more people that are maybe doing like high intensity endurance or super long workouts. Maybe you're training for some competition. So that 10 to 15 grams of protein and 30 grams of carbs longer than a 90-minute period of time of exercise. So might not apply to most of the population that is just doing fitness for a reason. But again, like if you are working out like 5 to 6 days a week pretty intensely, girl, you can up your carbs. Like, that's so fun. Like just adding an extra serving of rice or potatoes to a meal and knowing like your body's craving that for a reason. And also your body actually goes in about a 5 to 10% uptick like days before your period actually begins. So that approximately kind of comes out to burning an extra 100 to 300 calories. So if you're in an energy deficit, you might as well just fuel your body of what it needs. The third PMS symptom that she goes through is bloating. Bloating is caused by like that increase in estrogen and progesterone, so having high levels of those things. Estrogen controls the vasopressin. So this increases vasopressin, which what vasopressin does, it retains water and constricts the blood vessels. Then you got progesterone, which works with the hormone aldosterone, which aldosterone retains sodium, and then that decreases your blood volume and also decreases your cardiac output and blood pressure. So this affects that bloat to happen. You know, you'll have that retention due to these factors. And the plasma volume, so this, when your plasma volume is low, and this means that your blood is thicker, less blood is pumped with every heartbeat, which makes exercise feel harder. So if you're trying to blame, you know, laziness or pure lack of willpower on the fact that you're like before your period even begins, like days and about a week before your period begins, there's a reason to it, and this could be why. And this could definitely be a very logical reason why, is because your plasma volume is lower and you just cannot get blood pumped as efficiently as you need to do it. Ooh, I like this one too, because you ever wonder, like in the summertime, why like exercise just feels like you could just not do it? Like it's just so hard sometimes, and especially during the high hormone phase, so before your period comes, is we are like, this is when like the progesterone is increased, so this actually increases your core temperature, so it takes longer for your body to start to sweat, and it also, your body sheds more sodium in that time being. That's a short little thing about heat and your body and how exercise can feel so much harder when you are exercising in the heat. Okay, 5 is cramping. So if you struggle with a lot of like intense cramping, I'm sorry, because like it's not fun. And about, you know, this cramping happens actually because of what are called prostaglandins, which prostaglandins make the uterus contract and shed its lining during, like, when you get your period. About 5 to 7 days before your period, Dr. Stacey Sims actually has a great recommendation, which I totally agree with too, is to take magnesium, omega-3, and she does say an 80 milligram of aspirin, but that's because of like that helps lessen the severity of those prostaglandins releasing. But I'm just gonna not like push that because I don't want to give any medical advice. That's not my reason here. But the magnesium makes sense because magnesium really helps your muscles relax, really helps de-stress your body. Omega-3s for that anti-inflammatory effect, that really will help too. So yeah, like the prostaglandins, reason why you're cramping so much. Headaches. Now we're moving into headaches. About like some women suffer from headaches as a PMS symptom. So headaches are around your period, like menstrual cycle headaches happen because there's a shift in estrogen levels and the estrogen actually drops. So this actually causes like your blood pressure to change pretty rapidly. There's a sudden dilation and constriction of your blood pressure, and this is where the solution could be to eat more nitric oxide foods, because nitric oxide actually helps to promote dilation. If you suffer from period headaches, it would be beneficial to eat more things like spinach, beets, pomegranate, watermelon, things like that around the time of your cycle. I can't say serving sizes because I don't know you and your specific needs, but those are foods that you could focus on to add in. And then 7 is the GI issues. So during this high hormone phase, yes, the bloating, gas, diarrhea, again, is due to the prostaglandins and an overproduction of prostaglandins that are circulated in your system. So too much of this can cause the discomfort of the gas, diarrhea, those types of things. And then the extreme case could actually lead to nausea and vomiting with that. So it's a hormonal reason when it comes down to it. Now the 8th thing is those mood swings and low libido. There's a certain reason. Estrogen, progesterone really affects your hypothalamus, which is in your brain, and the hypothalamus helps regulate fatigue. So this also affects your limbic and your ANS system. So this can really be a valid reason why you have those mood swings. But another thing to help with this is to support your body with enough protein, especially the protein high in leucine, because the protein high in leucine actually crosses the blood-brain barrier, which actually helps slow down the serotonin release and fends off seeing like the central nervous system that could come and play and like make your mood go all whack. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. All right, so just to wrap up this video, I just want to go through the importance of why tracking your cycle can be so important. If you've gotten to this point in the video, now that you have a better understanding of your cycle, doesn't it make you want to, you know, keep better track of it? That it's not something that we should put down and look at as a bad thing of having a menstrual cycle. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to have that. Number one, your cycle is your key indicator for health. So if you see out there on the media, it's your 5th vital sign. We need your period to know that your body feels safe, it's nourished, it's the food you're fueling is adequate, the rest you're giving it is proper, and the training loads that you are going through can be intense, but it is your recovery and food is really helping to combat that. Second thing is another reason why to track your cycle is that you just have a better understanding of your stress responses during different phases of the cycle. As you learned in the video and me going through the phases, our stress responses are different. High hormone phase versus low hormone phase. And then third thing is to like really just stop second guessing yourself. That, you know, the fact that you feel super tired, drained, just like bleh, like a puddle of goo when you're close leading up to your period and you're like, I cannot like physically lift as much as I did last week. There is a physiological reason to it, but also that does not give you the excuse to not go for it. But it's not that lack of discipline or willpower, just your body is changing during the cycles. So I hope you can use these tips and this information, a wealth of information, as an empowering tool in your journey to help you better understand yourself, your body, and tap into your own physiology and optimize your performance, optimize your fitness and your health journey. All is that to say, I really want to put this out there of like how I approach this in the fact of like, no, I'm not a delicate flower, but I also understand that there are times that I can plan, okay, certain PRs or recovery or more mobility days because I know what phase of cycle I'm in and how my body needs to adapt. Not letting that be an excuse for you to just like give up on lifting completely for 1-2 weeks. It's like you just make modifications. Maybe the intensity is less, but you keep the training the same and just go by how your body physically feels. But you're not a delicate flower. That's what I believe. Like, you are strong, you are powerful, and I hope that this video empowers you to go ahead, go for a PR, and just learn more about your body, your cycle, and how you can really improve that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Stay strong, stay nourished, and I'll see you in the next video.